Welcome to 5 Minute Friday. This week we're going to talk about changing direction. And when we talk about changing direction, normally we're talking about stitching out a design, and normally designs stitch or are set up to stitch from left to right. So if I take this design and use my select or reshape tool and then click on the design, you'll see that indeed my green start point starts on the left and ends on the right. But what if I wanted to change the starting point for some reason? I wanted it to stitch right to left. I'd right click on the design and then swap entry and exit points. And then there is my design going to stitch from the right green point and end on the left. So when you do this, be sure to save your design. If you don't want to keep your original design, of course, rename it, or you can take it right into Pro Stitcher. And you can do the same easy task in Pro Stitcher when switching one design. Let's go over to Pro Stitcher for a second. And I've set up a couple border designs. Perhaps you have a row-to-row quilt, and I have one row of bunnies and chicks and Easter eggs, and then I have another of daffodils. But as you can see, they're both going to start stitching on the left and end on the right. Same with this one above. If my throat space permits, I have enough throat space to stitch both these rows. Why not stitch all the way to the right and then select this row to stitch back again to the left? And it's as easy as going to your Modify tab and clicking on the Swap Start and Entry point. So there, now my first row will stitch from the left to the right, and then again from the right back to the left. Now, providing, make sure you measure and that you have enough throat space for the designs that you've selected. And you can do individual designs or what have you with the same method. I just wanted to show you that you can do it in Pro Stitcher as well as Art and Stitch. Now we're back in Art and Stitch, and I've gone ahead for the sake of time and I used my shape tool to create a square and then filled it with a motif stitch. So the motif fits around inside of the square. So if you were going to, say, quilt a block with a shape, the reshape tool, you'll see that I get a line that runs across my screen. That's called a line of inclination, and that affects the direction that the design will stitch out. So if I click on and grab, hold your left key down, and grab on that line of inclination, you'll see that my motif stitch tips. So I can drag it at more of an angle, and you can click on either end and then click off the design, and you'll get the new rotation of your stitch. So that's one way to change direction when you're doing motif fills. Well, what about creative fills? Now I've set this one up. Again, I drew my block and I downloaded this or uploaded, put on the workspace, a creative fill from the libraries. So you have this creative fill. But notice the difference here. Once you apply a creative fill to that shape, that is what you see is what you get. WYSIWYG, we call it. So if you wanted to change the orientation of that creative fill, say you wanted to go more diagonal, and then position it where it's going to appear. If you want to do any other If you want this design to line up right in the corner, then go ahead and drag it right into the corner so you have a line going from corner to corner. And then you can do your normal process. Then you can do your normal process of selecting all the items and applying the creative fill by right-clicking and then choosing creative fill. It's going to take a minute or two because I have lots of things running. Okay, and when I click on my reshape tool, you'll see that I have a start and a stop point. I can change that. I can change the direction from over here to over there. I can change that, but I can't change the orientation. So I hope that gives you a little bit of insight as to directions and changing the directional sew outs of your design. I hope you've enjoyed today's 5-Minute Friday.